Hey, so you're looking to do some basic color correction within Adobe Premiere Pro. Well, you're watching the right video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do that using the Lumetri color panel right within Adobe Premiere Pro. Let's jump into the computer and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so now that we're in the computer here, basically once you have your project set up in Adobe Premiere Pro, you want to adjust your window workspace to a color correction setup. So you can do that by going to Window and then Workspaces and then Color. And you can obviously customize this to your own needs as you begin to color correct more and see what kind of works for you and what scopes you'd like to have and stuff like that. And then that's basically going to open up the Lumetri color panel over here. So when you have a clip selected, it will allow you to go through and change these color parameters. And this basically has everything. This has basic correction, which is a really simple way of understanding color correction. It's a little bit more similar to like Adobe Lightroom, where it just has sliders. And then they also have the more traditional video style color wheels over here with color and contrast. And then they also have some more advanced stuff like HSL and individual, like you can select a hue, saturation, and stuff like that. But today we're just basically going to be talking about the basic correction and maybe a little bit of color wheels, but for the most part, the basic correction. So first things first, you want to make sure you have your clips in your timeline and select each individual clip you're working on. So if I want to color correct this clip, I want to make sure that's selected so that I can adjust those settings. And then also you'll see over here, it may not be selected, just select Lumetri scopes. And then I usually recommend vector scope and waveform. Some people like these other options too. This is kind of good too if you have a really wacky shot, but it just depends on your preference. I usually like this because I can get a real sense for the white balance of the shot and how far off it is. So I was kind of playing around with this a little bit before we started filming, so I'll bring this back to normal. So basically the most important thing with doing basic color correction is you're not trying to do any crazy color LUTs or crazy looks or anything like that. All you're trying to do is to level out the exposure, the contrast, and white balance, and overall just color tone of the image to create a consistent image from shot to shot that is an accurate representation of what was there on the day. So the most common thing you'll find when doing some basic color correction is generally the white balance can be a little bit off, as well as the exposure. So the shots I'm looking at today, the exposure is pretty good, so we're mainly going to be focusing on white balance, but I'll go through and do a couple of things. So looking at this first shot here, as we can see, to me, right off the bat, without even looking at the scopes, it looks really warm. So this was kind of shot around sunset, which is fine, but I know from the day of, it wasn't that late where it would have been that golden look. And I want to go for a more natural kind of daylight, cooler look. So we're going to color correct it towards that. And as you can see here too, on the scopes, you can see there's a direct spike in the kind of warmness and the oranges and the yellows of the image. And then this is a great representation of exposure. I'm in a pretty good spot. I may take down some of those highlights. There's a little bit that are a little bit high, as you can see there. We're not going to get any detail back, but just to kind of take down some of the harshness. So basically the way the color wheel works too is if you have a lot of orange and yellows, you want to add blues. If you have a lot of greens, you want to add some magenta, and vice versa. So first things first, we're going to try and cool this shot down a little bit because we have a lot of orange in there. And right off the bat, we're in a pretty good spot. So let's even say 35, and now you can see the white part on the lens is white. Alternatively, if you do actually have something white in the shot, you can always use the color picker and then select a white portion. That didn't push it as much. Sometimes it's hit or miss. So I'm going to do it manually. But let's stick with that, and that's pretty much it. That's a corrected white balance shot. It's as easy as that, but when you're going through lots of clips, it can get kind of cumbersome. And then I'm also going to take down the highlights just a little bit, just to see if I can bring back some of that detail. So before, then after. Much better, much more accurate, and overall more pleasing. I don't need to mess with the contrast or anything on this shot. I'm happy with it. Let's move on to the next shot. So this is kind of the opposite problem, I would say. We're way too cool on the white balance, whereas in the other shot we were way too warm. So we can try the color dropper. Not that I don't think this is actually white, but that did an okay job. It brought us into a more warmer kind of space. Let's bring this up though to like 40. And I think this was a more accurate representation of how we were on the day of. And for this shot too, it was shot in the same picture profile and everything of the other shot, but it just doesn't have as much punch. So I'm gonna add a little bit of contrast as well, just to create a little bit more pop. Cool, so yeah, we brought it up to about 45. Let's even go 50. And I think that's much better, much better. Then I'll bring up the tint a little bit to add a little bit of magenta in there, because I feel like it was being a little bit too green. And we're still getting accurate colors on the green branches. We brought back the warmth in these other leaves over here that were from the fall. And yeah, I might even bring up a saturation just a little bit as well. Yeah, that's great. That looks awesome for this shot. Let's go see before. So before, cool, a little bit more flat, unbalanced. And then after, we brought back some of that warmth in, we balanced the shot out, added some contrast, and also increased the saturation a little bit to make some of those nice colors pop on the trees. And that's basically it. There's simple color correction steps that you can do within Lumetri color panel in Adobe Premiere Pro. And that's basically pretty much it. The other way you could alternatively do that, I guess I'll show you that real quick as well. So if you wanted to reset these, let's just turn those off. This is a more traditional way of doing things within video editing software, is by adjusting the white balance and stuff with these 3 color wheels. So let's do that by first adjusting the midtones to warm things up a bit. Highlights as well. And this is me just doing it kind of quickly. It's obviously not going to be as accurate as the other way, because these ones are a little bit harder to work with. But it still gives you the same idea. So basically you're adjusting the white balance by moving the color wheels over here. And the shadows you can warm up a little bit. I wouldn't mess with the shadows too much. And then you can adjust the contrast by simply doing that. Bring down the highlights a bit. Increase the mids just a bit. And then yeah, so you can see before, super cool. After, warm, balanced. Brought down the shadows, brought up the mids, brought down the highlights just a little bit to add a little bit more color contrast and make everything pop. And then on top of that, you could also add a little bit more saturation like we did in the other shot. But now with Lumetri, I generally recommend doing it with the basic correction most of the times, and then only using the color wheels when you need, but it's whatever your preference is. And that's it. Now with Lumetri Color in Adobe Premiere Pro, you're not only going to be able to correct your footage to get more accurate color representation on your clips if you screw up white balance or if the exposure is slightly off. You're going to be able to go in and make those adjustments. But not only are you going to get more accurate colors, but throughout your projects, you're going to overall get a much better consistent color palette throughout your projects. Because when you go in and correct each individual clip, especially to a specific white balance or specification of contrast or anything like that, you're going to overall be creating a much more consistent color. So then if you do just want to deliver as is, it's going to be consistent. or when you do go and apply more of a color grade and a LUT, everything's gonna look consistent throughout your whole project. If you like this video, please leave a comment below what your favorite way to color correct footage is. And thanks for watching this video, guys. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram @FilmZach. And until next time, copy and create. Peace.